from God?
Well, I don't know about that. I never met the gentleman. I'm hoping to meet him one day, not too soon, I hope.
Me neither. Hey, I think it was last week, you had said you had a girl archiving some of your shows from years past.
Yes.
Are you going to make those available to people?
You know, it's probably a very good idea. I know many people would like to hear some of the classics and download them off the website, michaelsavage.com. This looks like a one-year job till we get them all archived. It's enormous.
I'm sure.
Thank you for the call, but I don't know about a gift from God. I haven't met the gentleman. I'm interested in him. Fire and brimstone. When you read the Old Testament, it's fire and brimstone. Then the Christian Bible came along as the New Testament, and it was kind of more mild. There was much less judgment. That's why people don't like the Jews, really. I thought about that a long time. Want me to get into that? Want to give you my pet theory on that thing? Because, like, the Jews brought judgment to the world. Before that, you could fornicate with a monkey or a donkey or whatever. That's cool. What does Isaac do? I don't know. He likes donkeys. So what? Who cares? It's a donkey's a donkey. In other words, it was like San Francisco is today. Then all of a sudden, the Hebrew prophets come along after Abraham, and they start writing like, you can't do this, you can't do that, don't eat this, don't eat that, don't turn this way, don't turn that way. And who the hell are you to tell me anything? So the world starts to resent the people of the book for bringing them God's word. What do you think, everybody embraced it? The Romans, after all, threw Christians to the lions because they were bringing God's word to Rome, which was a decadent mess. And just as today, we have the same influences going on and the same struggle going on. We're turning away from being a nation that's even a modicum of a religious nation. We can't even say it's a religious nation. I'm no holy roller, don't get me wrong, but I grew up knowing about the red lights and the yellow lights and the green lights. I watched my step. I mean, I didn't always live up to it. I still don't, but I try. At least I know what's right and wrong. You say, well, how do you know what's right and wrong? How do you know that those old olive growers really knew what was right and wrong? Who's to say that they should be the judge? Well, you have to ask yourself, what would you have in a world without God? Tell me what the world will become with a world without God. We have examples. We have the ex-Soviet Union, where a man can be put into a concentration camp for no crime other than the government didn't like him. Are we far from that today? In some ways, we aren't. In some ways, we're not too far away from it. England was once a great Christian nation. Cathedrals of the most magnificent variety. The cathedrals are empty on Sunday in England. The bawdy houses are full. The pubs are full. The halls of Parliament were once filled with men who respected their traditions. I don't think the respect is there for the past anymore. It's the same here. What do we have here? How long has it been since you've heard anything to do with God or morality coming from a Republican? We've given up on the Democrats. We know they're not a party of family values. They don't stand for anything other than expanding government and taxing people to death and turning us into serfs. So we don't look to the Democrats for that. But the Republicans at one point made a big deal. They trumpeted family values. Family values. That's all you heard from them. Have you heard one Republican refer to family values in the last, how long has it been? Not one word from any of them. Nothing about families, let alone family values. They, too, have forgotten that there is a moral imperative or a nation is finished. It's done. It's toast. It may as well be well, that's a full sentence. There's no more. I don't have to add to it. I find out just like as a writer, sometimes you add the kicker and it destroys the whole sentence before it. That's a full sentence. 1-800-449-8255, michaelsavage.com. Healthcare plan, that's all you want to talk about? The airplanes? Nah, I don't think so. No, sir, Mr. Secretary. I do not want to talk about that. And no, sir, I am not going to listen to Obama in 20 minutes. I could care less. I had a very good bowel movement this morning, and that's sufficient for me, for that experience. I absolutely do not need the nausea of watching this charlatan speak again. I've had enough of him. Phil, was that you laughing? You should have played that on the air. See, I told you to play the laughter on the air so people actually hear somebody listens to someone who works for me laughs. What is there to listen to with Obama? Why should I listen to him? What's he going to say that's so earth-shattering? You know what he stands for. A Cuban-style, Soviet-style, Canadian-style, English-style, you name it, healthcare system that will not be as good as the one we have. Are there excesses in the healthcare system today? Yes. Should all people be given medical care? No, they don't deserve it. You heard what I said, didn't you? Why should I pay for your health care? Tell me why I should pay for your health care. Can anyone listening to the show tell me why I owe you health care? I pay over 50% of my money in taxes. Every dollar I earn, I give you 50 cents. So you could be a big bum or a big smoker or a big drinker or a big drugger. I pay for you. I should pay more for you? And to top it off, the insult to injury, Obama wants me, him and Nancy Pelosi say, screw you, you're paying health care for illegal aliens. Everyone from Mexico who's here illegally, everyone from China who's here illegally, and their families, you'll pay for them. That's the kicker that's coming from these people. They want you to pay for illegal aliens' health care. I'll go back to my own life. Everything's in my life. My father was a single earner in a family. My mother was a homemaker, and she was a darn good one. And I realize how hard it is to really make a home. Wow. We were not latchkey children. She cooked meals. She was there when I came home. She didn't let me get into too much trouble when I was young. She was always there, always had a meal waiting, and always tried to talk to me. You know, it's funny. Who was I talking to? A Mexican guy the other day, a worker. And he said, we started to talk, you know, what our background is. I don't know how it came up. Oh, I said a friend of mine had a heart attack the other day. That's also thrown me off for the last few days. Larry, we wish you well, Larry. I hope you're listening to the show. May you have a speedy recovery. And it's really shaking me up because he's a healthy, athletic guy. And, you know, so I was talking to him about it. I said, you know, my friend had a heart attack. He said, you know, a lot of my friends died in their 40s from heart disease. I said, really? He said, yeah. He says, well, I think that they were heavily into drugs when they were young, and it took its toll. That's not for Larry. That's not his thing. Believe me. But he was saying that his friends were heavy into drugs. I said, well, how did you avoid them? I said, he didn't have a Mexican name, and I didn't know if he was Israeli, honestly, or Mexican. I couldn't tell. He said, well, I grew up in L.A., and a lot of my friends went heavily into drugs. I said, well, who stopped you from going there? He said, my mother always was there for me, and she, you know, cautioned me. I said, you know what's interesting? I said, my mother used to say to me when I was from the earliest time, she'd say to me when she saw the drug scourge around New York, she used to say, you know, Michael, she said, I think that people who use drugs are weak. Every day, like a raindrop on my head, over and over again. She would just say things like that to me. I don't know. She'd pick up the paper, like the Daily News. There was always a story that she could reflect on. And the news was like the Bible in a way. She'd hold it up and she'd see another person with drugs, another kid in trouble. She says, I don't know. She'd shake her head. To me, she would say, people who use drugs are just weak. I didn't understand what she was getting at. I didn't know. To me, anyone who used drugs was macho. I thought they were big men. Big men went to Canada and smuggled in drugs. Big men, they took LSD. Big men, they all amounted to less than my dog's droppings. All the big men, the big druggies, big men. But when we were kids, oh, they were the big men. Big man. He can smoke more dope than you can. Oh, big man. He can take more LSD than anyone. Oh, big man. Big man wandering around on Grant Avenue or North Beach. He can't buy himself a Heineken. Big man. The streets are still filled with them, the big man. Cafes are filled with the big men, the druggies. All Obamas. All Obama voters. Because they think Daddy Obama's going to give them a free ride. Everything they couldn't work for or wouldn't work for their whole life is coming from Obama. So she used to say to me, I think people who use drugs are weak. She was right. But when you're a kid, you think people who use drugs are cool and they're tough and they're strong and they're macho. And she was right. They're weak. They're the weak ones. They're empty inside. You understand this? I don't know how I got here, but here I am. Next, I will give you a cure for yellow teeth. I'll be right back.
These guys are so hilarious. I almost drive off the road every morning.
Armstrong and Getty. Weekday morning, 6 to 10. Talk 910 KNEW.
the savage nation. Only the Queen can save England from what they've done to me. I cannot read you the entire email from my UK attorneys. I will in the next few days, pending some furtherance and further instructions. I'm going to read you the opening paragraph. Michael Savage, we have finally received from the Home Office the response to the request we made under the Freedom of Information Act 2000 for various documents relating to your exclusion, a copy of which I attach, which I have paginated for ease of reference together with the covering letter. Now, you're not going to believe what's in there, and I can't read it to you. I wish I could. I meant to. However, I will hint at it. We believe other U.S. broadcasters have been excluded but not named. We are going to try to find out if, in fact, others have been excluded, and if so, whom. There's much more. There's more in here that will make your hair stand up because it is racism, it is anti-Semitism at work,